So this has become a fun little segment we do from time to time here. So I will hand it off to Jamie.
Okay, so we're definitely going to do one. If we have time for two, we might do two. But the first one we're going to do, and this is from the MIV a-hole.
We're just going to say, am I the jerk?
We're going to call it the jerk.
And if you're unaware of these, people go on Reddit, tell a story and asking, like, am I the bad guy in the situation? And then people talk about it in the comments.
Exactly. So this is from the MIV quote-unquote jerk Reddit thread. And this woman asks, am I the jerk for taking my grandchildren to Disney for the first time without their mother and refusing to apologize when confronted?
Spicy.
All right. This was a year ago. And she says, my son made this account and asked me to post this story because he claims my normal meter is skewed and the internet is going to tell me I am a jerk. I recently babysat my grandchildren, 5 and 4, for a period of 4 nights and 5 days so my son and his wife could attend a wedding in Mexico and spend a few days on vacation. They approached me since her mother would not be available, and I initially said I wasn't comfortable with that. It seemed like a long time to watch the kids, and she has point blank told me that the woman's family is more important than the man's. Okay. So I was irritated, and I was being asked.
She told her point blank that before?
Yeah. So I was irritated. I was being asked and not her mother. I will admit that I did give in when my son became very emotional, but I felt like they were being manipulative. When I had the kids, I was invited to a birthday party at Epcot and wanted to go. It didn't even occur to me to run it by my son or daughter-in-law as I had the kids for an extended period of time, and obviously they knew they would be going where I went. My daughter-in-law had previously mentioned wanting to save up for Disney, but she said that about a lot of things and never made me aware if something was super special to her or not. Also, it was Epcot. It's not like I took them to Magic Kingdom and they had some special moment of seeing their favorite characters. Okay. All right. I have thoughts already. When they returned and found out, my daughter-in-law was furious and burst into tears. She said I stole one of her kids first and called me entitled. To be honest, I didn't react well to being called entitled when she was the one who had previously demanded babysitting. My son asked me to apologize as she was distraught over missing their first Disney trip, but I declined and asked them to leave. My son reached out again and said I should have asked for something that big, and his wife feels robbed. I know she is a huge Disney person, but it was Epcot, not quintessential Disney, and I don't feel I should have had to miss out on a birthday party I wanted to attend. I told my son I am not apologizing for anything, and maybe they should think about how they made me feel when they didn't respect my initial no. My son feels like Reddit is going to show me the error of my ways. Am I the jerk?
Well, first off, there's clearly some family dynamics at play here that this is just a something else. There's been many things that have happened, I would say, on this. And it's a weird thing. I've never had a personal confrontation and then been like, let's take this to Reddit to solve the problem. All right, so that's a interesting way to try and go about it.
So she offers some clarification in the comments here. She says, my daughter-in-law wanted to take them for the first time. While she hadn't communicated this, I guess to some people it would have been obvious, and I didn't put much thought into it. I refuse to keep the peace and apologize. I feel I am being owed the apology.
I mean, if it was... Okay, it seems like if she's told the mother-in-law like that essentially your family's second fiddle to mine, I mean, that's already like you've set the stage there where you don't... I would show that it's like a lack of respect. Like, I guess you could think it, but to actually tell somebody that is... that that's a whole other thing.
Right.
And if it wasn't... so I'm assuming that they're also not that close because of that. I'm going to assume they don't spend a lot of time together because if they're second fiddle, they're not seeing the grandkids as much or spending as much time. So if it like wasn't explicitly said that that's what they were going to do, and she had previously said like she says a lot of things but doesn't follow through on them, I mean, I'm what do the comments say?
Okay, some of the comments, if you want to hear them. This person said, yeah, not the jerk. I'm guessing you paid for the kids to go to Epcot and fed and paid for any other things during those days, right? And all in the name of trying to spend some quality time with your grandkids. I know it was probably a lot of work, but you enjoyed it. So instead of a super ginormous thank you for the money you spent and time with the kids, allowing the parents to go away on vacation without the kids, you're called an entitled and demanded an apology. HELL to the no. Daughter-in-law is the clear jerk, and son too for agreeing with his wife. Also extra jerk to your son, given he thought he and his entitled wife would be vindicated by posting here. He probably wanted to shame you publicly, but the laugh's on them.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So if she's paying for it, first off, it's like she did them a favor by babysitting for like almost a week.
Yeah.
Paying for the kids to go, feeding them, like the kids are taken care of. It's pretty, you can be upset about it, but at the same time, this would be like, we have your mom watch the kids, and I was like, oh, I've always wanted to take the kids to Wendy's, and your mom takes the kids to Wendy's, and I'm like, oh, well, I was going to do that. Well, if I never explicitly told her that, how was she supposed to know? I'm assuming like the wife may be like a Disney adult or something like that, so there's obviously a lot of extra weight on that like taking the kids to Disney, waiting to go, and things like that.
Yeah,
but I think the reaction of calling her names and then demanding an apology when she watched your children and they're safe and sound and were taken care of and fed and paid for, you could be a little perturbed by it. But I think in terms of like her owing them an apology, I think is kind of insane.
Okay, so I'll just give you my thoughts on this. First of all, they live about 2 hours away, the grandma does. And the husband and daughter-in-law and the kids live about 3 hours away.
So why haven't they gone before if they live that close? Well,
my guess is that they say they've been trying to save up and they want to do multiple days. I'm guessing it's just like out of their price range that they haven't been able to do it yet.
Okay,
fair. So the basic thing for me is just communication here.
Right.
Like, first of all, like if you're going to this birthday party and you say, hey, I'm going to take the kids to Epcot. I'm going to spend this money. Like, this is what's going to happen. Then tell that to them before you go. And then you can be like, they're like, oh, you can't do that. Be like, well, I have the kids. I'm going to go.
Well, did she know? It seemed like
she said she didn't know.
So that was what I'm saying.
Later in the comments, she said she didn't know about the party until like a day before it happened.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. Also, I don't think she understands Disney adults.
I mean, that's a whole other thing.
And really, like, okay, I understand like wanting to take your kids for the first time as the parent of your child, like going to take them for the first time and like doing all of that, like for real. And she's right. She didn't go to Magic Kingdom, to Epcot. Maybe they don't feel the same way as far as that goes. But to be super angry that she did this, I would be like, oh, that's so nice that they got to experience Epcot
they got to spend
with
time with
their grandmother.
Yeah, they got to spend time with their grandma too.
Yeah, and I'm like, for a 5 and 4-year-old minus, a couple of rides at Epcot. I mean, there is more to do now than there used to be, but like, it's not what you would consider like quintessential like Disney for young children. Yeah, I mean, just consider that Magic Kingdom.
Most people, when they're talking about taking their kids to Disney, it's like Magic Kingdom and seeing the castle and all that stuff like that.
So I don't know. I would say not. I would say not the jerk here.
I'm gonna say not the jerk, also because the mother's reaction is to break down into tears immediately.
Yeah.
There's like no thankfulness for watching the kids. Like clearly they went to a wedding, but they want to have a vacation away from the kids. Like, okay, you got to do what you wanted to do. You didn't explicitly have any parameters on like, hey, by the way, and you live 2 hours away. I mean, I don't know. This also lends to the fact of like, I don't think they talk much because it's like you would assume somebody would know if that was that important to you, perhaps to like ask first or something like that. So it's like, and the breaking down to tears, the husband's reaction of taking it to Reddit, which I'm just sorry. That's
crazy.
That's insane. I have never once thought I'm going to take my life problems to Reddit to try and get this figured out. Right. As if that has weight. Like, I don't understand like what that's supposed to do. Like that's supposed to settle the argument, I suppose, I guess.
I don't know. I think he just thought that everybody was going to agree with the way he was thinking.
But apparently they're wanting an apology from the grandma, even though she was doing them a favor.
Right. I'm thinking that there may be more to the story. Than
there is so much more to this story.
Yeah.
This is one. Yeah, I'm sure there is so much stuff going on here.
Yeah. So someone asked on the comments, can I get any detail on the woman's family matters more than the man's bit?
That is, yes.
She said it for the first time when I picked out a dress for the wedding, and apparently her mom was supposed to pick her color first. She said it a couple times randomly while she was pregnant or postpartum, and once when she thought I wanted them to go to Switzerland for my birthday, which, to be clear, I did not want. So a couple of times she said it. Honestly, this woman, this daughter-in-law sounds very immature.
Yes. Well, even if
she could be just a very young mom too. Who knows?
It's very possible, but it's like, even in a joking manner, you don't say that.
Yeah. And OP said they asked a week ahead of time, and I said no initially, and then gave in a few days later after they pressured her and everything, and didn't know about the birthday party when that happened.
Now, I'm also going to say that's also strange on the grandma's part. Now, maybe this is we've heard stories of this, but for the most part, like, your parents, for instance, like, they love watching the kids. Like, anytime, like, they're always asking. Most grandparents want to spend time with their grandkids.
So I'm getting the feeling that because this daughter-in-law is saying, like, my family's more important than my husband's family.
And then the husband is allowing that to go on.
Right. He's allowing that, but also that the kids don't see this particular grandmother a lot.
That's exactly what I had said.
And so when she was asked to watch the kids for 5 days, she's going, whoa, hold on a minute. Are you sure? Like, she maybe just wasn't ready for it.
Well, that is true. Like,
and she did say no because she wasn't comfortable.
Like, 4 or 5 days is different from like a day or something like that. That's a long time. That's true.
And I don't know the reason why the daughter-in-law's mother couldn't do it. I don't know. But
she also probably felt second fiddle already. And then they she claims they manipulated her. I'll say this, what I say about most things. Communication is going to be really helpful here in terms of relationships and in life. But I would say, to me, in this situation, with the information at least we can find on this, I don't think the grandma is a jerk in this situation. I suppose there could have. I suppose, like, again, unless there's missing elements here and she did know it and perhaps this was a slight jab or something like that. That's a very plausible scenario.
I think they're all, so you can go, am I the jerk? Am I not the jerk? Or everybody sucks here. Oh. And I think this is a situation where everybody sucks here.
Very possible.
I think that, like, maybe like the husband and daughter-in-law are unrealistic in their expectations for this grandmother. But at the same time, this grandmother seems like she just doesn't want to take responsibility for making the decision that she made.
Well, I get
at the same time.
If you don't think you made I understand, like, if you don't think you're in the wrong and not apologizing. I get that.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know. Like, if my parents took our kids to Disney for the first time.
Yeah, but your parents also know where you stand on that.
True. But she said she knew.
I thought she said
it wasn't. I guess it wasn't. I didn't to make it as clear, or it wasn't as clear to me that it was that important to her. Or something.
That's why
like
I'm
that.
saying I don't think
she
that
just
they
didn't realize?
See each other much.
Yeah.
You also could have it. It could be the grandmother basically knowing that would kind of like jab at her and do it. Like I said, I think there's way more to this family situation than what's letting on here. So I'd say there's probably plenty of fault to go around. But at the end of the day, I mean, she still watched her kids. They're taken care of. They weren't harmed, it doesn't seem like. So the kids' perspective, they had a good time, I'm assuming. Although Epcot of all the parks is probably the one that kids like the least, depending on what they did, maybe. But, I will say, tentatively speaking, outside of more information, I'm just going to say the grandmother's not the jerk, but she's not necessarily a good guy, maybe. But the mom, the kid's mom in the situation, seems like a dramatic drama queen. Because the fact of, like,
dramatic drama
you could be upset about this, but to break down into tears demanding an apology, like, right whenever you pick up your kids, I'm like, that's a little, like, okay, that's one way to react to the situation.
Also, too, like, thinking about parents in general when it comes to, like, I want to be there for all the firsts, be like, that's kind of unrealistic. Like, when you think about being there for every single first your child is ever going to have.
Yeah.
Like if you're gone for 5 days, guarantee you they're going to do stuff that they've never done without you.
Yeah, true.
And it's like, I mean, I get it. I get the Disney thing because I'm a Disney person. So I get wanting to take my kids for the first time. And again, it's a communication thing. Like, she didn't make it clear not to take them to Disney, but then again, she didn't know because her grandmother didn't communicate that. So it's like,
well, okay. The other thing I just
also
thought,
2-hour drive away from their home.
Well, that's what I was going to get. So it's a 2-hour drive. They said they're saving up, but yet they're going to Mexico for a wedding and a vacation. So you clearly have the disposable income if it was that important to go to Disney for a couple of days, if it was this big of a deal.
You can go to Mexico cheaper than you can go to Disney.
Well, okay, the flights, but at the same time, they run all the time. They have Florida resident discounts. Like I'm saying, if you wanted to go for a day, you're 2 hours away. Like if it's that important, you could have gone a day. So apparently the grandmother said in a comment on another comment, she said that the daughter-in-law wanted to go for at least 4 or 5 days to make it worth it. Okay.
I don't think they're a one day kind of thing.
But if it's this
if
it's this important that your kids experience Disney with you for the first time, like I don't know. To me, I'm just like, if it's that big of a deal to you, you would have made it work at some point already. Yeah. I mean, I've known people that have also done similar things where they say, "Oh, I want to make sure it's this big thing," and then it ends up never happening as well.
And also, who asked their parent to watch their kids for almost a week before they have to do it?
Yeah.
That is so crappy. Unless like they had other arrangements and they fell through and like this was just like a backup. I don't know.
It seems like that. It seems like poor planning regardless.
She's talking about like her son getting emotional. I'm like, okay, so
the son,
obviously you and your daughter-in-law do not get along, and your son is something is going on. Like he's a mama's boy, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I have some issues with this guy. I think if you know there's this much animosity, like you need to step in and be like, we need to figure this out, sort of thing. So like I said, there seems like tons of blame to go around here, but I'm just I'll stick to tentatively. I don't think the grandma's a jerk, but she may not be a great, like the best with the information we have, at least.
So kind of a jerk, just kind of a jerk. A little bit.
I think the thing that makes it a jerk or not, if she knew that going to Disney with the kids was that important. If she knew that was a really important thing and still did it, then she's a little bit of a jerk. But if she didn't actually know or understand, it was never conveyed to her, then I don't think she's a jerk in that situation.
Well, on this particular Reddit thread, she was deemed not the jerk.
That makes sense.
But if this was on a Disney
that's
Reddit,
the thing.
Definitely would be considered the jerk.
It definitely, I think to the general crowd, it's like, no, you're not the jerk. But I think it all hinges on how much did she know about how quote unquote important this was. But at the same time, like you said, you live 2-3 hours away and you haven't made this happen yet. And I know it's cheaper to go to Mexico, but like you can save up for a couple of years. Like it's still going to cost you a decent amount of money to go to Mexico and stay there for a week.
Yep.
So you could have used that money if it was that important to you, to take the kids to go to Disney for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 nights. You don't have to go for a full week.
I don't know. I think they want to do all the parks and call it a day. Anyway,
people want to do a lot of things.
They do. They want to do a lot of things.